I'm Alexia, and the topic I chose for our social justice project is gender diversity. The age range for this is kindergarten through second, however, there is a mention for preschool ones, and the sources that I have lessons and other stuff for older kids. So, by teaching students gender diversity and also equality, students are expected to understand and respect that some of their peers may be different than them, and it is not our place to say anything but to give them love and support. It also means some people have different gender identities and they should feel free to express themselves in any shape or form. In my future classroom, I'd want students to feel supported and comfortable and not feel judged by other peers. One digital platform that I would love to share with students is PBS's Arthur. It has videos on gender diversity and equality in an appropriate language that students can understand and learn from. So the book that I chose for this project was Want to Play Trucks by Anne Stott. The summary is two boys, Jack and Alex, both play together in the sandbox. Jack likes toys such as trucks that ruin things, while Alex likes dolls that have tutus. Both boys look for a way to combine their toys together and have the doll in the truck. However, they argue over Alex wearing a tutu, but they settle it down by Jack saying Alex wouldn't be able to drive a truck while wearing a tutu. At the end of the story, they hear the ice cream truck and find something that they both like, which I thought was pretty funny because students tend to argue, especially the younger ones, over toys, but then they find something else to do together. So it's pretty relevant in that sense. So our first source is a website I found called genderdiversity.org. It's a great resource on what schools should do or should address when discussing the topic of gender diversity and how we can ensure safety and equality in the school and classroom environment. So some questions to ask are, what does gender diversity mean? We could also list a topic that is addressed or create a policy that is inclusive and involves equality. The second source that I found was an article called Gender Identity Development in Children. When reading the article, students are able to understand the difference between gender and sex. They can also get to understand how they can express their identity and break free from the stereotypes. Some questions that we can ask are, list ways we can express our identities. Can you summarize when we tend to have a sense of gender? Or what do we know about stereotypes and what does it mean? The second source that I found was one focused on gender diversity, equality, and everything surrounding on equality and inclusivity. It is called Welcoming Schools. There are lessons focused on books that are about gender. There are questions and how to respond to them when discussing them with students. So you can find a lesson and summarize it as a question. There's one specific lesson that is targeted for younger kids called Jacob's New Dress. It is a book. And they could compose questions on it. They also have checklists as a source on how we should check out, ways that students feel safe and inclusive in the classroom. So I have my lesson plan here. Some of my supporting questions are, do we have to like the same things as our friends? How to be kind and fair towards others? And how to make sure everyone feels included at school. So one of the resources that I have listed here is a video. It is about pronouns and how to use them. It also tells students that some people do not prefer gendered pronouns and that they prefer neutral ones such as they, them, and how even using the correct pronoun can make them feel awesome. There's a book called It's Okay to Be Different by Todd Parr, I believe that's his name. With that book, students will be able to learn that everyone is different than each other and we may share similarities. It can be from hobbies, emotions, dislikes, etc. At the end, it has a really important message for the students, so it gives them reassurance. Another resource I found is Gender Spectrum. Through this website, educators, students, and parents are encouraged to look through and be able to find questions and how to communicate with each other on the topic of gender. We can use these sorts of questions when educating students on gender diversity. I mentioned Welcoming Schools prior to this, and there's a lot of books on and lesson plans on LGBTQ books, how to prevent bullying. We can use those lesson plans or resources to teach students everyone is unique and different in their own way. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there was one resource for preschoolers. It's from PBS's Daniel Tiger or something called like that. It can also be for the students of my age rank. It helps students learn that we may look, talk, act different than each other, but it's still important to respect each other, and we should all include our friends and support one another. So for one of the lesson plans, I found a book in a lesson plan called I Am Jazz. It's about a student who is transitioning and how they feel. So it teaches students, the word transgender and what it means in appropriate language. An important object from this lesson is how to support students who are transitioning and how to be an ally. Another one is called Discovering My Identity. Students will learn how they are similar to other people or students but have their own differences. They are able to express themselves and can break away from gender stereotypes. They also have a chance to see how similar they are to book characters as well. Then the last source or lesson plan that I found is one called Alphabet Page. By teaching this to students, they are able to understand who they are and what their identity is. It can be from their gender to the things they like, hobbies, toys, etc. They are able to write what they like from a specific letter, turning it into a book. So my narrative, when I was going through the topics, I saw how little resources there are on gender diversity, but there was a lot of books, so it was kind of surprising. A reason why I also picked this topic was because I wanted to include SEL more often in my lesson plans, and I thought this would be a great way as students can see, how, not including people just because on their gender differences can impact and how it can make them feel. It also relates to social justice as it is more focused on the rights of people and wants to give them the same equal opportunities as other. When I did some research, I also found out that LGBTQ plus students tend to get more bullied than their cisgender peers, like even online and in person. I find this topic extremely relevant to teach in the school setting, as schools are becoming more diverse and inclusive, accepting all genders and identities. It can even start at a young age from 4, as I've researched too that they tend to find their own sense of identity from the dolls to the toys they like, the hobbies that they play, etc. Teaching gender diversity at a young age can help students become more open-minded and respect for other peers or people. A big part of this is that everyone deserves to get respect and feel equals as others despite them not looking the same as us. So I would use it as students can learn and understand in appropriate language all of these resources so they don't get confused, because a lot of students tend to not understand. So it's extremely important to use age-appropriate language. Then I also have my works cited here, and that's pretty much it. Thanks.